Hey all, so with this screen recording app that I'm using right now, I only get 5 minutes. So I will post these slides on Google Classroom so you can see this as well and come back to it. But want to talk about like an introduction to how this is going to work and say hello. And then I'm thinking of you and hope you're all staying inside and staying safe and healthy. But over the next couple weeks or so, I will be posting lectures and Google Form quizzes that go with them. We'll check those out on Google Classroom and you can complete those as well. Today, we're just going to run through a really short lecture of what is an infectious disease and how is it transmitted. Then you can take the Google form afterwards. But again, this is going to be super quick because I'm only allowed 5 minutes, and you can access the slides and things like that. Just like in class, everything that's in yellow is something that's important you can write down or document as you go through this. But let's go ahead and get started. Again, if you have questions, reach out to me on email or Remind. I'm always available and can help you out as well. So the essential question that we want to ask is, how can health workers identify the source of an illness so we can treat it and prevent it? And this is super applicable to today when we're thinking about coronavirus, as it also has happened in 2010 in Haiti. As you can see, this was after the earthquake when they're trying to figure out why are so many people getting sick after this earthquake. So who studies this? Pathology is the study of the nature of a disease and its causes. And if you're a pathologist, you are the person that is studying the disease and what causes it. The specific agent that causes the disease is called a pathogen. And again, these words are just an introduction to diseases and how they work. So how do you get a disease? Some diseases are communicable, like the flu or chickenpox, meaning that you can pass it on person to person. We'll talk about how in just a minute. But other diseases are not contagious, meaning that you're not going to pass it on to somebody that you're in contact with. For example, if you have cancer or allergies, you're not going to pass that on to the person sitting next to you. Throughout the week, we'll focus on 2 different types, viruses and bacteria. That's all you need to know for now. So what exactly is the definition of a disease? A disease is something that's going to upset the homeostasis of the host. The host that we're going to be talking about is generally you or another person, and you're going to see some observable changes or damage to the host because of this disease. If the disease can be transmitted by the host to somebody else, we say that it's an infectious disease. How do you know you have the disease? We call those symptoms. That's the evidence of the damage to the host. So when we're thinking about the coronavirus, a symptom might be a fever or the respiratory cough. The virulence then is just a measure of the pathogenicity. And what that means is that some diseases might be more dangerous than others, and the virulence is just a measure of that. So if you look at the graph, you have contagiousness versus deadliness. Ebola might not be that contagious, but it's super deadly. Whereas chickenpox is very contagious, but it's not deadly. So these are 2 differences in virulence that we would look at. How do we describe how the disease affects a community? These 3 words, epidemic, pandemic, and endemic, are things that you might hear in the news right now. An epidemic is just when it affects just one community, versus a pandemic that we're hearing constantly with the coronavirus is when it's affecting the whole world. An endemic then is just a disease that's regularly found in a group or region. How do diseases become transmitted? There are a bunch of different ways that diseases can be transferred host to host. One is food and waterborne diseases, meaning that you either are going to consume this or you'll drink this type of disease as well. An example would be like food poisoning. That's a disease that's going to upset your homeostasis of your body, make you really sick, and it's found in food. Bloodborne, meaning that it's carried in the blood or other bodily fluids. You have to come in contact with a person's blood to actually get this disease, or bodily fluids. Airborne means that it's carried by the air. It's often affected by the respiratory tract. So a common cold, an example, if you sneeze or if you blow your nose or you cough and some of those particles get in the air, the next person in that area can pick up the disease as well. 2 other types on the bottom, sexually transmitted and zoonotic. These are carried by animals or transmitted by sexual contacts. Who deals with these health issues and diseases? These are just a list of some organizations